Hello everyone, I'm Shannon Kelly, TREB Social Media Manager.
And I'm Jason Mercer, the Toronto Real Estate Board's Senior Manager of Market Analysis.
So Jason, based on the stats that I have seen, June as well as the spring as a whole really did end strongly, both in terms of sales as well as average selling price. So can you, starting with sales, run that down for us, what it looked like last month?
Sure, Shannon. So we saw 10,180 total sales through the Toronto MLS system in June. And this was up by about 15% in comparison to what we saw in June 2013. Now, it's important to note that we're seeing strong price growth across home types, so from single detached through to condominium apartments. And we are also seeing strong sales growth when you look at it from a geographic perspective, so whether we're talking about the City of Toronto or the surrounding regions. And so what this tells me is that we have a diversity of home buyers active in the marketplace today, whether we're talking about first-time buyers or households looking to purchase a multi-million-dollar luxury home.
But even with strong growth in sales, my sense is from the numbers that we're still experiencing tight market conditions as well as strong competition between buyers.
Well, that's true, Shannon. And while we did see year-over-year growth in new listings in June, it's important to point out that the annual rate of growth for listings was less than that of sales. And so in effect, we did see tighter market conditions last month and more competition between buyers. And so it's not surprising then that we're seeing 2 months or less inventory in many municipalities across the Greater Toronto Area.
I think that's a nice segue into price. So not only were sales up last month, but also price too, correct?
That's right. We saw the average selling price come in at almost $569,000 last month, and this represented an increase of over 7%. And so the bottom line is that with competition between buyers increasing, it makes sense that we're continuing to see strong upward pressure on the average selling price. It's also important to point out that the MLS HPI, which basically estimates the price of a benchmark home with the same attributes from 1 month or 1 year to the next, that composite benchmark was up by about the same amount as the average price last month. And so what this tells us is that most of that price increase that we're seeing is based on market fundamentals, and so that changing relationship between supply and demand. And in this case, we've been seeing market conditions get tighter.
When we talk about the housing market in the GTA, inevitably the conversation turns to our skyline and the condominium apartments that fill it. So how did that market segment fare this month?
Right, so when we think about condominium apartments, we do think about the large number of projects under construction right now, and certainly also the large number of completions that we've seen, say, over the past couple of years. And so obviously the fear there is that we'll see a lot of listings coming online, and that glut of supply will cause prices to drop off. But in fact, we've seen the opposite. Even though we've seen a lot of inventory come into the marketplace, certainly the condominium apartment segment is better supplied than what we're seeing, say, for single, semis and townhomes. We've also seen growth in the number of buyers, and so we're seeing enough demand to underpin pretty strong price growth over the last few months for condominium apartments as well.
Interesting, absolutely, Jason. And we will be back in a month's time to discuss that as well as other things in our Market Watch for July. In the meantime, you can still connect with us on Twitter at TREB Home as well as on Facebook. And from both of us, have a great July. Stay hydrated.
Brought to you by GTA Realtors.